So for example, the Euthyphro problem, which is the reading from the Plato dialogue that I mentioned, the question in Euthyphro is, what is the nature of goodness, right? Moral goodness. And then there were two possible options. There are two responses in that reading. And so I will ask them on an exam, describe one of the options for what goodness is. And it's pretty complicated, so it takes about a paragraph to really explain all of the details of it. And then I'll have like a list of vocabulary and then a list of short answers, and then I'll say choose 4 of these 6 to write on. Or I'll say choose 6 of these 8 terms to define. And then I give them some choice, usually.
Do you have any online exams or tests?
Online?
Yeah.
No, not usually. Every professor is different, though, with online exams. There are some professors that are very technologically savvy.
Mhm.
And then there are some professors who don't even know what email is.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
I'm serious. Like,
I know.
you know, the ones that are 70 or
Yeah.
something.
I know.
But then everything in between. And I would say I'm in between,
Yeah.
I think.
It's true because you have to submit everything and you have to read online and yeah, so yeah.
And my students submit homework online.
Yeah.
Oh, they
so
do?
Yes,
That's what
Okay.
I
they
was.
do.
That's why
Mhm.
I was asking.
Yes.
So they don't bring you the homework. They put it online.
They submit it online,
Okay.
and I grade it online,
Oh,
or my
okay.
TA grades it online.
And what do you do if a student doesn't bring the homework to class?
Oh, well then I make sure that I call on them
Okay.
to discuss.
Okay.
Yeah.
For late assignments, what's your policy?
Late assignment is always F on homework.
Wow.
But if they,
Okay.
anytime it's late, it's an F.
Okay.
But then if they only have a week to submit it late, and after that it's a 0.
So they still get an F?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but an F would be like a 60
Okay.
or a
Okay.
50.
Okay.
Right? So if it's not on time, it automatically gets a 60.
Okay.
And then after a week, it's a 0.
And a 60 is like a D.
Yeah.
Okay. A D. Okay. I'm
Good. Other questions? Another one? Yeah.
When we asking or some questions because of his obligation to put the citation?
To put a citation? That's a good question. It depends on what the question is. If it's the kind of question where I'm asking you to give your own argument, then of course you don't need a citation because you are actually defending or giving reasons for your own position. But if it's a more objective or factual question, such as what is Aristotle's definition of happiness, then you should provide a citation because there's a right or wrong answer. Yeah. Good. Yes.
For students who take notes, as Ms. Mora told us that all students in classes take notes.
Everyone. Yeah.
So, do you always mention the important information? The important
Yeah.
ones?
So again, every professor is different, but for me, I always I try to put an outline on the board before class begins of the major
helpful.
topics that we
Yeah.
will cover in class.
good.
And then if there's a particular term that I want them to remember, I'll write it on the board, right? So arguments, I wrote on the board because it's a very central term for philosophy. And my students know now, when I write a word on the board, immediately
Yeah.
they write it down right away.
That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Because I don't write everything on the board that I say. I only write the important things.
That's good.
Yeah.
You say teachers is like a referee
Yes.
for the student.
Yeah. In
Sometimes,
terms of their work.
yeah. Sometimes they want to discuss with you about their work or homework. Maybe sometimes it's like the referee give them less than they accept.
Oh yeah,
So-
like the soccer players who
Yeah.
are like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Is that but the
That's not a good
student-
idea. Just for reference, not a good idea to do a professor.
No, what I mean is like that will put the student in jeopardy or not?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
I think it depends on your demeanor,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
If you
That's a good question.
communicate that you are sincerely interested in improving, then I think the professor will almost always be happy to help you.
Yeah.
Um, But if you come into office hours and you are very confrontational, you were wrong, you misunderstood me, and you're very, what's the word, like in your face, right? That will not be helpful for you. Yeah, that will be detrimental for you. But every professor that I know where a student has come in after, say, a bad exam or a bad homework, and the student says, I'm not sure what I did wrong on this, but I want to do better on the next one. Could you please help me? Every professor that I know would be delighted to help in that kind of an environment. Yeah, especially if you are humble when you approach and you say, you know, I want to get better. I want to know how to do better on the next exam. Please help me. That's the best way to get help.
But if there's like not humble and there's like it's not respect, they will be in jeopardy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, it depends on the professor, obviously, but yeah, I would say it would be wiser for you
Okay.
to be deferential and respectful. Yeah.
Because I have a question.
Yes.
A lot of us,
Yes.
my students in the class, are preparing to go to the university. English is not their first language. As a professor, especially at Loyola, what advice would you give them to about preparing besides your actual class, but anything in general, anything you know could give them? Because I want them to walk away, you know, hearing from you as an American professor
Yeah.
that it is possible, you can
Oh,
do
yeah.
this, you know, but here's how you get there. Because I know a lot of times they get discouraged or they get upset or they're like, oh, I can't do this, or they have to take the TOEFL, the IELTS, the GMAT, things like that. But what, you know, they could do today to start preparing them for that world.
This.
Okay. Okay.
No, but I mean, they're specifically applying this to your situation.
Okay.
I think working hard means it will be probably harder for you than it would be for other students. But I
Okay.
think that's to be expected. I mean, that's normal, right?
Mhm.
I think what it means is that things will take a little bit of extra time. So just plan to spend extra time than you normally would. Find native speakers in your class that you can connect with, okay? And this is a good idea even for native speakers, right? Find people in your classes that you take that you can study with, right? Who you can trade and read each other's work and give each other criticisms and feedback, right? To make each other's work better, okay? That's another way to work intelligently, right? Is to find people who will read your work and tell you what's wrong with it. It's a hard thing to do, actually, because it requires you to be humble, right? And to take criticism from other people. But it's such a good skill. It's such a good skill.
Yeah.
Because other people will see things in your work that you cannot see, right? They will find things in your work that you cannot find, and they will help you make your work better. Okay, so work with native speakers in your courses that you take. Be disciplined, right? Start working on things well in advance. This is what I mean when I say allow yourself more time, right? As soon as you know that an assignment is due, start working on it right away. Plan to do extra drafts if you're writing a paper. Most people maybe will do 1 or 2 drafts. You will probably have to do 3 or 4 drafts. Okay? Just plan on it. And most of all, I think stay positive.
Yeah.
Because you are all smart people, or else you wouldn't be here.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
You're all smart people, or else you wouldn't be here. The challenge now is just working hard, working smart, and being disciplined. That's it. Okay? And the more you practice, and the more you persevere, and the more you decide that you're not going to give up, the better things will get.
Mhm.
And then one day, you're going to be in the middle of your coursework and you're going to realize somehow this got easier.
Mhm.
I don't know how, I don't know when, but things are easier now than they used to be, right? And it's not going to happen all at once, but it'll happen over time, right? Things will slowly get easier and easier and easier until finally you won't even be able to remember when it was this hard. I know this from experience, by the way. I lived in France for 6 months when I was in high school, and I cried every single day for the first month. It was awful. The teachers were so mean. Everyone was so mean, right? And then at some point, it was like, oh, je parle français. Il n'y a aucun souci, right? It was fine. And I don't know when it happened, and I don't know how, but at some point it just did. And it was just practice, right? Just practice. That's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you again, Dr. Early.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank